You're really tired of doing what? We left off at chapter 14, text 5. We'll start at chapter 14, text 6 today. Three modes of material nature. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare.
Student class. Introduction prayer to page 1. Om Jnana Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Tapitam Bhutale Samyupadam Yadati Swakalam Deham Shri Guru Shri Vaishnava Yudam Samajatam Sahagranam Vitam Sajivam Sadvaitam Sadhuram Buddha Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Deva Shri Radha Krishna Padam Saharanam Vita Shri Vishakam Vitam Shara Hey Krishna Karnas Deen Vanga Vipate Upesham Taptakanchana Goram Yurahil Bhavaneshwari Kripavanu Suti Devi Pranamami Muribhye Panchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyascha Titanam Bhavebhyo Vishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasudeva Gaura Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare. Chapter 14, text 6. Tapya Satvam Yamalakva Prakash Manamaya Sukhasunena Bhavati Anasangena Shadasa. Translation. The mode of business, being pure in the others, is illuminated, and a freedom from all sensual reactions. Those situated in that moment of knowledge but they become conditions of the concept of happiness.
Text 7. Rajaratmakam Vidi Krishna Sangha Samubhavam Adiva Natyanti Manteya Kamasamriya Dinam. Translation: the mode of passion is born of limited desire and longings, O son of David. Because of this, one is bound to the inferior group of activities.
Bhagavad Gita text 8. Kamastakya Jampidhi Bhuvanam Sabadeham Kamatamasya Nidravistam Madhati Bharata. Translation: Makes the divine grace from the Father. O son of Bharata, mode of ignorance starts with the delusion of all living entities. To resolve this mode is madness and polluted spirit, responding with vicious soul. It's not. Sattvam sukhe samveti raja vairani bhavate yanam bhakti chutama amare samyayata. The mode of goodness conditions one's habits. Action conditions him the fruits of action, and ignorance to madness.
Text 10. Rajastamas chabhu puya satwang bhavati bharata. Rajasatwang tamaschaiva tamasatwang rajastata. Translation: sometimes the mode of passion becomes prominent, defeating the mode of goodness, O son of Bharata. And sometimes the mode of goodness defeats passion, and at other times the mode of ignorance defeats goodness and passion. In this way, there is always competition for supremacy.
Text 11. Sarva Dravrusa Deheshmin Prakasha Upajayate Gyanam Yada Tada Vidya Vishvidandam Sattvam Iti Uta. Translation: the manifestation of the mode of goodness can be experienced when all the gates of the body are illuminated by knowledge.
Text 12. Labhaparita Ramba Karmanam Asamaspiha Vajasetani Jayante Virdhe Pardatarshaba. Translation: O chief of the Bharts, when there is an increase in the mode of passion, the symptoms of great attachment, uncontrollable desire, hankering, and intense endeavor develop. Text 13.
Aprakasho pravittischa pramado moha evacha tamasyetani jayante vivridhe kuru nandana. O son of Kuru, when there is an increase in the mode of ignorance, madness, illusion, inertia, and darkness are manifested. Text 14. Ida satve pravidhe tu pralayam siyati dehabrit tadotamam vidham loka amalam pratipadyate. Translation: when one dies in the mode of goodness, he attains to the higher planets. Jai Shishi Gornitai.
So text 15. Rajasi pralayam pralayam gatva karma sangishu jayate tata palinas tamasi muda yunisu jayate. Translation: when one When one dies in the mode of passion, he takes birth among those engaged in fruitive activities. And when he dies in the mode of ignorance, he takes birth in the animal kingdom.
Text 16. Karmana Sukritasyahu Safikam Nirmalapalam Vajasastupalam Dukam Agyanam Tamasapalam. Translation: by acting in the mode of goodness, one becomes purified. Works done in the mode of passion result in distress, and actions performed in the mode of ignorance result in foolishness.
Text 17. Sattvat sanjayate jnanam rajaso lobha evacha pramada moha tamaso bhavato jnanam evacha. From the mode of goodness, real knowledge develops. From the mode of passion, grief develops. And from the mode of ignorance, foolishness, madness, and illusion develop.
Going back to text 6. Text 6 translation. Also in this one, the mode of goodness, being purer than the others, is illuminating, and it frees one from all sinful reactions. Those situated in that mode develop knowledge, but they become conditioned by the concept of happiness. Report. The living entities conditioned by material nature are of various types. One is happy, another is very active, and another is helpless. All these types of psychological manifestations are causes of the entity's conditioned status and nature. How they are differently conditioned is explained in this section of Bhagavad Gita. The mode of goodness is first considered. The effect of developing the mode of goodness in the material world is that one becomes wiser than those otherwise conditioned. A man in the mode of goodness is not so much affected by material miseries, and he has a sense of advancement in material knowledge. The representative type is the Brahmana, who is supposed to be situated in the mode of goodness. This sense of happiness is due to understanding that, in the mode of goodness, one is more or less free from sinful reactions. Actually, in the Vedic literature, it is said that the mode of goodness means greater knowledge and a greater sense of happiness. The difficulty here is that when a living entity is situated in the mode of goodness, he becomes conditioned to feel that he is advanced in knowledge and is better than others. In this way, he becomes conditioned. The best examples are the scientist and philosopher. Each is very proud of his knowledge, and because they generally improve their living conditions, they feel a sort of material happiness. This sense of advanced happiness is conditioned life, makes them bound by the mode of goodness of material nature. As such, they are attracted toward working in the mode of goodness, and as long as they have an attraction for working in that way, they have to take some type of body in the modes of nature. Thus, there is no likelihood of liberation, or of being transferred to the spiritual world. Repeatedly, one may become a philosopher, a scientist, or a poet, and, repeatedly, become entangled in the same disadvantages of birth and death. But, due to the illusion of the material energy, one thinks that that sort of life is pleasant.
Text 7, translation. The mode of passion is born of unlimited desires and longings, O son of Kunti. Because of this, one is bound to material, fruitive activities. Purport. The mode of passion is characterized by the attraction between man and woman. Woman has attraction for man, and man has attraction for woman. This is called the mode of passion. And when the mode of passion is increased, one develops a hankering for material enjoyment. He wants to enjoy sense gratification. For sense gratification, a man is in the mode of passion, wants some honor in society or in the nation, and he wants to have a happy family with nice children, wife, and house. These are the products of the mode of passion. As long as one is hankering after these things, he has to work very hard. Therefore, it is clearly stated here that he becomes associated with the fruits of his activities
and thus becomes bound by such activities. In order to please his wife, children, and society, and to keep up his prestige, one has to work. Therefore, the whole material world is more or less in the mode of passion. Modern civilization is considered to be advanced in the standards of the mode of passion. Formerly, the advanced condition was considered to be in the mode of goodness. If there is no liberation for those in the mode of goodness, what of those who are entangled in the mode of passion?
Text A. Tamas tagyana jamvidhi mohunam sarvadehinam pramadalasa nidrabis tandimbandati bharata. Translation and purport. Praise divine grace. O son of Bart, the mode of ignorance causes the delusion of all living entities. The result of this mode is madness, indolence, and sleep, which bind the conditioned soul. For in this verse, the specific application of the word pu is very significant. This means that the mode of ignorance is very peculiar qualification of the embodied soul. This mode of ignorance is just the opposite of the mode of goodness. In the mode of goodness, by development of knowledge, one can understand what is what. But the mode of ignorance is just the opposite. Everyone under the spell of the mode of ignorance becomes mad, and the madman cannot understand what is what. Instead of making advancement, one becomes degraded. The definition of the mode of ignorance is stated in the Vedic literature. Under the spell of ignorance, one cannot understand the thing as it is. For example, everyone can see that his grandfather has died, and therefore he will also die. Man is mortal. The children that he conceives will also die, so death is sure. Still, people are madly accumulating money and working very hard all day and night, not caring for the eternal spirit. This is madness. In their madness, they're very reluctant to make advancement in spiritual understanding. Such people are very lazy. When they are invited to associate for spiritual understanding, they are not much interested. They are not even active like the man who is controlled by the mode of passion. Thus, another symptom of one embedded in the mode of ignorance is that he sleeps more than is required. 6 hours of sleep is sufficient. But a man in the mode of ignorance sleeps at least 10 or 12 hours a day. Such a man appears to be always dejected and is addicted to intoxicants and sleeping. These are the symptoms of a person conditioned by the mode of ignorance.
Text 9, translation. The mode of goodness conditions one to happiness. Passion conditions him to the fruits of action, and ignorance to madness. Purport. A person in the mode of goodness is satisfied by his work or intellectual pursuit, just as a philosopher, scientist, or educator may be engaged in a particular field of knowledge and may be satisfied in that way. A man in the modes of passion and goodness may be engaged in fruitive activity. He owns as much as he can and spends for good causes. Sometimes he tries to open hospitals, give to charity institutions, etc. These are the signs of one in the mode of passion, and the mode of ignorance covers knowledge. In the mode of ignorance, whatever one does is neither good for him nor for anyone.
Text 10. Sometimes, translation. Sometimes the mode of passion becomes prominent, defeating the mode of goodness, O son of Bharata. And sometimes the mode of goodness defeats passion. And at other times, the mode of ignorance defeats goodness and passion. In this way, there is always competition for supremacy. Purport. When the mode of passion is prominent, the modes of goodness and ignorance are defeated. When the mode of goodness is prominent, passion and ignorance are defeated. And when the mode of ignorance is prominent, passion and goodness are defeated. This competition is always going on. Therefore, One who is actually intent on advancing in Krishna consciousness has to transcend these three modes. The prominence of some certain mode of nature is manifested in one's dealings, in his activities, in eating, etc. Now, all this will be explained in later chapters. But if one wants, he can develop by practice the mode of goodness and thus defeat the modes of ignorance and passion. One can similarly develop the mode of passion and defeat goodness and ignorance. Or one can develop the mode of ignorance and defeat goodness and passion. Although there are these three modes of material nature, if one is determined, he can be blessed by the mode of goodness, and, by transcending the mode of goodness, he can be situated in pure goodness, which is called the Vasudev state, a state in which one can understand the science of God. By the manifestations of particular activities, it can be understood in what mode of nature one is situated.
Text 11. Manifestations of the mode of goodness can be experienced when all the gates of the body are illuminated by knowledge. Report. There are 9 gates in the body, 2 eyes, 2 ears, 2 nostrils, the mouth, the gentle, and the anus. In every gate, when the symptom of goodness is illuminated, it should be understood that one has developed the mode of goodness. In the mode of goodness, one can see things in the right position. One can hear things in the right position. One can taste things in the right position. One becomes cleansed inside and outside. In every gate, there is development of the symptoms of happiness, and that is the position of goodness.
Text 13. Pardon me. Text 12. O chief of the Bharatas, when there is an increase in the mode of passion, the symptoms of great attachment, uncontrollable desire, hankering, and intense endeavor develop. Purport. One in the mode of passion is never satisfied with the position he has already acquired. He hankers to increase his position. If he wants to construct a residential house, he tries his best to have a palatial house, as if he would be able to reside in that house eternally. And he develops a great hankering for sense gratification. There is no end to sense gratification. He always wants to remain with his family and in his house and to continue the process of sense gratification. There is no cessation of this. All these symptoms should be understood as characteristic of the mode of passion.
Text 13. Aprakasa Pritischa Pramoda Moevacha Tamasetani Jayante Virde Kuru Nandana. Translation and purport. O son of Kuru, when there is an increase in the mode of ignorance, madness, illusion, inertia, and darkness are manifested. Purport. When there is no illumination, knowledge is absent. When the mode of ignorance does not work by regulative principle, he wants to act whimsically for no purpose. Even though he has the capacity to work, he makes no endeavor. This is called illusion. Although consciousness is going on, life is inactive. These are the symptoms of one in the mode of ignorance.
Text 14, translation. When one dies in the mode of goodness, he attains to the pure higher planets. Purport. One in goodness attains higher planetary systems like Brahmaloka or Janaloka, and there enjoys godly happiness. The word Amalan is significant. It means free from the modes of passion and ignorance. There are impurities in the material world, but the mode of goodness is the purest form of existence in the material world. There are different kinds of planets for different kinds of living entities. Those who die in the mode of goodness are elevated to the planets where great sages and great devotees live.
Text 15. When one dies in the mode of passion, he takes birth among those engaged in fruitive activities. And when he dies in the mode of ignorance, he takes birth in the animal kingdom. Report. Some people have the impression that the soul when the soul reaches the platform of human life, it never goes down again. This is incorrect. According to this verse, if one develops the mode of ignorance after his death, he is degraded to the animal form of life. From there, one has to again elevate himself by evolutionary process to come again to the human form of life. Therefore, those who are actually serious about human life should take to the mode of goodness, and in good association transcend the modes and become situated in Krishna consciousness. This is the aim of human life. Otherwise, there is no guarantee that the human being will again attain to the human status.
Text 16. Translation. By acting in the mode of goodness, one becomes purified. Works done in the mode of passion results in distress, and actions performed in the mode of ignorance result in foolishness. Purport. By pious activities in the mode of goodness, one is purified. Therefore, the sages who are free from all illusion are situated in happiness. Similarly, activities in the mode of passion are simply miserable. Any activity for material happiness is bound to be defeated. If, for example, one wants to have a skyscraper, so much human misery has to be undergone before a big skyscraper can be built. The financier has to take much trouble to earn a mass of wealth, and those who are slaving to construct the building have to render physical toil. The miseries are there. Thus, Bhagavad Gita says that in any activity performed under the spell of the modes of passion, there is definitely great misery. There may be a little so-called mental happiness. I have this house or this money, but this is not actual happiness. As far as the mode of ignorance is concerned, the performer is without knowledge, and therefore all of his activities result in present misery. And afterwards, he will go on toward animal life. Animal life is always miserable. Although under the spell of illusionary energy, Maya, the animals do not understand this. Slaughtering poor animals is also due to the mode of ignorance. The animal killers do not know that in the future the animal will have a body suitable to kill them. That is the law of nature. In human society, if one kills a man, he has to be hanged. That is the law of state. Because of ignorance, people do not perceive that there is a complete state controlled by the Supreme Lord. Every living creature is the son of the Supreme Lord, and he does not tolerate even an ant being killed. One has to pay for it. So indulgence in animal killing for the taste of the tongue is the grossest kind of ignorance. A human being has no need to kill animals, because God has supplied so many nice things. If one indulges in meat eating anyway, it is to be understood that he is acting in ignorance and is making his future very dark. Of all kinds of animal killing, the killing of cows is most vicious, because the cow gives us all kinds of pleasure by supplying milk. Cow slaughter is an act of the grossest type of ignorance. In the Vedic literature, the words Gobihi Pranita Matsaram indicate that one who's being fully satisfied by milk is desirous of killing the cow is in the grossest ignorance. There is also a prayer in the Vedic literature that states, Namo Brahmanaya Devaya Go Brahmana Hitaya Cha Jagad Hitaya Krishnaya Govinda Daya Namo Namaha. My Lord, you are the well-wisher of the cows and the brahmanas, and you are the well-wisher of the entire human society and world. The purport is that special mention is given in that prayer for the protection of the cows and brahmanas. The brahmanas are the symbol of the spiritual education, and cows are the symbol of the most valuable food. These two living creatures, the brahmanas and the cows, must be given all protection. That is real advancement of civilization. In modern human society, spiritual knowledge is neglected and cow killing is encouraged. It is to be understood then that the human society is advancing in the wrong direction and is clearing the path to its own condemnation. A civilization which guides the citizens to become animals in their next lives is certainly not a human civilization. The present human civilization is, of course, grossly misled by the misled by the modes of passion of ignorance. It's a very dangerous age, and all nations should take care to provide the easiest process, Krishna consciousness, to save humanity from the greatest danger.
Krishna Shravana Prabhu, do you have some reflections?
Yes.
This chapter is very significant, the three modes of material nature. Men are not equal. There are three kinds of men. Some are good, some are passionate, and some are ignorant. And these modes are not permanent. Sometimes a good man becomes passionate or even ignorant, and sometimes an ignorant person, by good association, he can come to the mode of passion or goodness. So these modes of material nature are temporary situations of the conditioned soul. And by developing pure goodness, Vasudeva Sattva, he can return to his original position of loving devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. And if one dies in the mode of goodness, he attains the pure higher planets. If one dies in the mode of passion, he generally remains on this earth planet as a king. And if one dies in the mode of ignorance, he can take birth in the lower planets or in the animal kingdom or plant kingdom. So in this way, Krishna is fulfilling everyone's desire since time immemorial.
So Prabhupada mentioned here, which was also reflected by Krishna Shravana Prabhu, that association plays a part too. And that's actually discussed elsewhere in the Gita, that guna sangosya, by our association, we're showing Krishna, in a sense, what we want, which is interesting. Krishna Shravana Prabhu mentioned that Krishna is fulfilling all of our desires. And this morning, Prabhupada in the lecture, he said, somebody is looking at they're worshiping the Brahmajyoti. They're obsessed with the Brahmajyoti effulgence. And so, Ye yata mam prapadyante, as they surrender unto me, I reward them. So Krishna gives them that transcendental bliss, which is compared by the acharyas to be like worth nothing compared to, or worth very little compared to the ocean of nectar and devotional service. But then Prabhupada mentioned the cowherd boys. So the cowherd boys are playing with Krishna. And Shukadeva Goswami said that Krishna, you are the source of that Brahmajyoti upon whom all the impersonalists are meditating. And these boys are playing with you. And how fortunate they are. What did they have to do to play with you? And you yourself are the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So it's really amazing that Krishna is giving us everything we want. So what association did they cultivate? Those cowherd boys. Well, it's said that they cultivated, I think it is Krita Punya Punja, like so many heaps of pious activities such as austerities and penances and so on and so forth. And this is an interesting thing that happens in the scriptures too, because one can say that those penances and austerities and things like that are in the mode of goodness. So how can goodness lead to bhakti? So that's a question, but the human society is meant to be guided by the mode of goodness. Therefore, the brahmanas are protected because they're situated there by nature. And if they're not protected, then the other modes become unnecessarily prominent, and then nobody can get to goodness, and then it's very difficult to go up, because in the Gita, Krishna says that, how can there be happiness without peace? So you can't become peaceful. Sama is the first quality of work of the brahmanas. So, but by good association, right, after one is actually finished with all of his sin, that's discussed by Krishna in the Gita too, after one is completely done with all sin, then he can actually take to bhakti. And that's why it's very important that at the beginning, Rupa Goswami says, just let them get an attraction for Krishna. But within some time, Prabhupada says that a so-called yoga society which does not restrict the activities of its students, right? Or a spiritual master who does not restrict one's own activities, a so-called yogi or so-called spiritual master, then they're useless. So we can understand that we've been blessed by Srila Prabhupada to live a life in the mode of goodness, and also to associate with devotees. And by that association with devotees, cultivating the mode of goodness and transcendence, and then we can actually transcend. So it's kind of a figure of speech in one sense, that the coward boys must have done so many heaps of activities. It's a fact that they did, but they did more than that also too, because they had some transcendental association which actually helped them even go beyond that into the bhakti. So yeah, those are some of my points. Thank you for tolerating me.
I heard Kirtananda Swami say that Srila Prabhupada's Palace of Gold was built mostly by the devotees who were in the mode of passion. These devotees had a tendency to work very hard, and they had a strong desire to do something very nice for Srila Prabhupada. So they engaged their mode of passion in Krishna service, and the result is very, very wonderful. So whatever one mode is in, he could engage in activity for the service of the Supreme Lord. And this is the purpose of Varnashram Dharma. Everyone should worship the Lord by the result of his activities and not work simply for sense gratification.
So, Prabhu, you mentioned about kind of engaging one's nature in Krishna service, and by that transcending. So, what's holding us back from reaching our full potential, in Krishna service?
Maya.
Maya. So then, it said that one can see what modes there are by the activities. So you mentioned Kirtananda Swami. He had said that, you know, those devotees had that. Is there any risk to, for those of us that are less qualified, to categorize devotees?
That's up to the manager like you.
Hare Krishna. Anybody else have any comments or questions? Okay, so this point with this last purport, really amazing, and it reminded me of this, as Krishna Sharma Prabhu mentioned, about the Varnashram Dharma system, about engaging ultimately in reaching Krishna consciousness. And as was mentioned by Prabhupada, the key, or the key, what do you call the linchpin, or the, when you have an arch, there's a keystone. And the keystone is the one that actually transfers the force from one set of blocks to the other set of blocks, and actually transfers it, and it negates these two, and therefore there's no movement. It's really cool. You know, we used to play with it at the science museum or whatever. Yeah, you can do. Keystone. So the keystone is this of, you know, the human civilization, looking at it from the Varnashram system, is this protection of the Brahmanas and the cows. And Prabhupada at other points, which will come up later, he describes how Brahmanism, or mode of goodness, is actually synonymous with cow protection, actually, because one needs that animal fat to nourish the subtle matter of the brain. And the only way to get that animal fat in the mode of goodness is to take care of the cow and drink the milk and the various other products. So we hope that we can satisfy Srila Prabhupada and all of his visions for the human society. Okay. Jai. Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. All glories to some devotees.